Greetings everyone, and welcome to Virtual Abilities 2024 Mental Health Symposium. I am Zvi Avian, and I have been in Second Life for about 15 years. I enjoy exploring the various worlds and communities of Second Life. I also volunteer as an information assistant for the Virtual Worlds Education Consortium. In real life, I am an IT Quality Assurance Analyst from Penang, Malaysia. Today, I would like to introduce Dr. Folajinmi Oluwasina. He has an extensive academic foundation in public health and holds a bachelor's degree in microbiology, a master's degree in public health, and a Ph.D. in Public Health Epidemiology. He has been teaching for the past 10 years and is passionate about health innovations that increase access to high-quality mental health care. His presentation for today is titled Invincible Struggles, Addressing Mental Health Among Black Youth. It explores the frequently disregarded but crucial matter of mental health among the Black youth community. Audience, please hold your questions and comments to the end, so as not to interrupt the presentation's timing. Welcome, Dr. Folajinmi Oluwasina. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Thank you so much for the introduction. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining me today. My name is Fola, as rightly said, introduced, and I'm here to talk about an important but often overlooked topic, the mental health issues that Black youth experience in Canada. And my presentation will seek to shine some light on the invisible battles and discuss effective solution to this problem. But I'll just like to start by saying that mental health is an important part of total well-being, and it remains a difficult, though it still remains a difficult issue for many Black youth in Canada. Stigma, we have systemic hurdles, and cultural differences can also contribute to increased frequency of mental health problems in this population. Today we will look at these issues and examine ways for helping Black youth and how they're going to navigate their mental health journeys and all that. And this presentation is just going to focus on the research that we're on, almost getting to completion right now. And I'll first of all start by talking about statistics about the Black youth in Canada. So recent research shows that Black youth are more likely to face mental health concerns than their classmates, right? And then, of course, Black youth have high suicide rates, and it's so alarming. And despite statistics, Black youth are less likely to seek or receive proper mental health care. And some of the things that have actually caused this has been systemic barriers, okay? Like, Black youth, they suffer several systemic impediment affecting their mental health. For example, they experience racism in school, place of work, and the society, and all of these can lead to stress, anxiety, and depression as well. So, and of course, Black youths are also economic disadvantage, such as they have high rates of poverty and unemployment, which might also worsen their mental health. And then also, we have some inadequate culturally responsive mental health treatment which may discourage Black people from seeking this help, right? So this is just one of the things that we are seeing, all right? So also, I just need to also mention that, just a moment. Okay, so I just wanted to also mention that in our research, one of the things that we did were we used the race-based data. I mean, the purpose of our research is actually race-based data on the mental health of Black youths in Canada during COVID or after COVID is not readily available. And this could mean quite a lot of things, right? For example, it might be because these race-based data are not, I mean, Brazil Canada do not usually, most often time, collect this kind of data, right? And of course, during the pandemic, we started this project during the pandemic, and it poses a double whammy, which is a double issue for, Black youth, because they are increased risk of mental health problems, and Black Canadians are at a increased risk of contracting and dying from COVID as well. So the project that we're doing is it's examining the mental health of Black youth after COVID-19 pandemic, and of course, we're looking for it to also offer interventions to address mental health risk among the demographic of youth, right? So that's one of the things that is doing for us. Okay. So another thing that I would like to talk about is how we conducted this research. So if you look at the slide, we have two phases of the research. So the first phase was qualitative phase. During qualitative phase, we interviewed 48 Black youth on mental health, and this is in relation to COVID-19. And then, of course, we look at the restrictions, the school closures, the disruptions of support, and the programming, the physical distance, the 6 feet, and all that. So we did this via Zoom. And then also we have a phase 2 that we already conducted as well, where we surveyed about 933 youths. Okay, and then these 933 youths are between the ages of 16 and 30 years, and this is cut across Canada. And then the outcome we collected outcome variables, and those are the things that some of the things that we looked at, where we looked at depression, we looked at resilience, we looked at anxiety, we looked at substance abuse among this population. So phase 1 result actually informed phase 2. And of course, we got to data analysis, where we analyzed the phase 1 result and of course the second phase result as well. So phase 1 data we analyzed, and then we used thematic analysis and intersectional lens, and which I'm still going to talk about. And then in phase 2, we analyzed using chi-square, feature exact, and logistic regression analysis for our analysis. So now, another thing that I want to talk about is the theoretical framework that we used. So we looked at, for phase 1, we looked at intersectionality, and the depth of readily available race-based data on mental health of Black youth in Canada is a major concern, like I've mentioned earlier. And there are various reasons for this, right? They are not available, and one of the major reasons, first and foremost, is structural racism, which has had long influenced data collection procedures. For example, historically, data collection tends to frequently omits like the underrepresented groups like black groups, and this has resulted in substantial gaps in the information that is required, to successfully address black youth's special needs. So another key factor is the race-based data gathering. It's generally voluntary than rather than required. Okay, you can only volunteer, and that's what it is. So these can cause discrepancies in incomplete data set. For example, policies have placed insufficient focus on the significance of collecting race-based data in health and even social services, and then of course privacy concern, ethical concerns that are almost, these are all the considerations. So collecting the race-based data can pose privacy and confidentiality concerns, which can make both individual and institutions apprehensive about acquiring and sharing such information. Okay, so and of course, for the black community, we have noticed that there's a high substantial level of distrust in the authority. And then because black community may have a long-standing distrust of institution as a result of abuse, as a result of prejudice, as a result of racism, and this itself can create a reluctance to participate in, data collection operation for black people. And there are also concerns about how race-based data may be exploited or even misused. And these usually discourage individuals and communities from disclosing their information. And of course, limited research funding is another factor that can cause this as well. Right. So this is very important to clear. And if you look at our intersectionality, just to talk a little bit about intersectionality is like a framework for understanding how different social identities such as race, such as gender and class intersect to form like an overlapping and interrelated systems of discrimination or disadvantage. Okay. So it allows us to realize that people experience oppression as intersectionality and privilege in different ways depending on their unique set of identities. Okay, so in this study, we use intersectionality, we apply the intersectionality framework to better understand the black youth's mental health challenges in Canada, and we described it in various ways. And for example, for example, people with multiple identities, each person has several social identities that influence their experience. For example, someone may identify as black and belong to other social categories such as a student, a female, or a member of a low-income household. And each of these identities has this potential to influence a person's life and also their mental health. And that is why we consider intersectionality in our research. Okay, so and also we use intersectionality because of their unique experiences. So we hope to better understand the unique experience of black youth, and then of course to help us recognize that their mental health is influenced not only by their race or age, but also a combination of all their identities and how these identities can interact with other social structures within the community. Right, and of course, lastly, we also use it for inclusive solution on this research. For example, we use it to understand intersectionality, and then also to advocate for inclusiveness and the customized, making it customizing it to the unique needs of black youth as well, so that it helps to prevent the issue of one size fits all solution, and encourage more effective, culturally sensitive approaches to mental health care. All right. So quickly, I'll just also quickly talk about our methods and our strategies. How we recruited. We recruited our participants through social media platform. We utilize a social media platform. We printed posters. We sent so many messages that are approved by Ethics Research Committee on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and of course, we use personal social media as well. And of course, those that are actually connected to the principal investigator of this project, which is Professor Bukola Salami, and our educational network as well. And then also another way that we did this recruitment strategies, because that this is over, we don't have so much black youth as much as we have the white counterpart in Canada. So we have to be selective and strategize about it. So we did community outreach as well. So in the community outreach, we use research assistants that are connected to the community in their respective provinces. So we look at different provinces so that we can have a representative person in each of these. For example, we use some communities such as Kopana, Taibo, High Human, the Come Up, YEG, EDI office at the University of Toronto, and so many other ways by which we did this. So now for the interviews, we conducted the interviews via Zoom, because we talked about this COVID-19 at that time, and then we use interview guide that is written by Professor Bukola Salami, and then of course participants were given honorarium upon completion of this interview. This was approved by the Research Ethics Committee, just to give the participant in lieu of their time in form of a gift card. All right, so just to talk about the next one for the phase 2, we randomly select. We did a total sampling of participants across various provinces, and we're able to get 933 persons that participated in this interview. So how did we do the data collection? So for this study, we use a quantitative data collection methods, and we use it to collect and analyze this numerical data on mental health of Black youth in Canada. And one of the things we did was that we used, of course, surveys and questionnaires, and these tools really help us. We use it to collect data from participants and administer standardized questions to them. So we use this tool to collect elements of mental health, which includes the prevalence of anxiety, the depression, major depressive disorder, their stress level, PTSD, coping strategies, and all the associated characteristics, right? So, of course, we use some standardized measures as well, especially for GAD, which is generalized anxiety, GAD-7. We use PHQ-9 as well to measure the severity of depression, PTSD, and all that. So our survey offer established measures of assessing mental health so that we are sure of our result. So this method, which is the standardized measures, help us to guarantee that the data we collect is reliable and, of course, is comparable across different groups. Okay, so and in addition to this, we collected demographic information such as age, gender, socioeconomic situation, and educational level, and because we believe that this will help us better understand how various factors interact and influence mental health outcomes. So we did a sampling method as well, and our goal was to diversify samples of Black youth across various places across Canada. So we did we utilize both random and stratified methods to guarantee that our sample is representative of the general population. So what this means for us is that it will attempt to include people from various age groups, various genders, and various socioeconomic backgrounds in order to provide a comprehensive review or a comprehensive view or holistic view of the situation of Black people, Black youth in Canada. So The process includes we completed participants were asked to complete survey online through RedCap, and it took them about 12 to 15 minutes to complete. We did a data analysis, and then we utilized different statistical tools to examine this. We looked at the patterns, we looked at the relationship, we looked at the disparities in mental health outcomes among various groups of Black youth. And generally our goal for doing all this is to discover the critical factors that is influencing mental health challenges and resilience in the community. So, and then another thing that is critical for me to mention here is the confidentiality and the consent that we got. So, because we're dedicated to maintaining the confidentiality and privacy of all our participants, before you participate, everyone was informed about the goal of the study, what the study involved, what it entails, and how the data will be utilized. So we seek informed permission from all participants and use and ensure that they are aware of the rights. Okay, they are aware of their rights, including the opportunity to withdraw from the study at any time with no consequences as well. All right. So now we're gonna move on, and yes, hello.
What are we doing? I just joined.
Okay, so yeah, we're in the conference, and then I'm making my presentation. All right, so now on social demography, if you look at social demography of a participants, we had quite a lot of people we have more males that participated in the first phase, and then we asked them questions about their education, for example, the university degree if it's in progress or completed, the postgraduate degree, if they have a college certificate or high school equivalency. We asked them about their religion, and then of course their income, and you can see as it is presented on the screen. So now we went through reflexivity, and reflexivity itself is like a practice of evaluating one's own feelings, like our identity and motives, and how they influence what one does or thinks in a situation. So the reason why we use reflexivity in our research is, number one, we want to reduce bias, and we want to set aside any kind of assumptions. And then number two, we want to understand how factors such as a social location, that is age, race, gender, geographical location, the ability, may influence the research processes, and then also more connected with our participants. So this reflexivity is very great and helps us to connect more with our participant. And if we practice it, how we felt completing the interview and our major learnings, what conversation came up, and these are the things that we actually used for our project. So now I'm just going to quickly talk about the research findings for phase one. And we had, like I said, we had an interview, and then we had so many things that people said, for phase one, and that was an interview that was conducted via Zoom. And one of the ways by we thematize, we categorize this is we have one that says lack of awareness of cultural safe mental health care. So one of our participant is a male. The participant is 26 years old and born in Nigeria. Says, I don't think it was advertised enough that I saw that it wasn't really advertised because I feel you weren't used to engage in stuff like that. You need to go above and beyond when it comes to advertisement. You put a day, make them want to come. You want them want to attend. So it's more like selling it to them instead of just announcing, right? So that is lack of awareness. That's one of the things that they said about lack of awareness. And another person, a female who is 18 years, who was born in Jamaica, says resources for children, young, the old, people like me, persons who are Black, people who are indigenous, people who can relate to us, people who can understand where we're coming from, other than talking to parents and staffs, because they don't always know best. Sometimes we need people outside of it to hear us and out and to understand us as well. So that is what they're saying. So this is showing lack of culturally appropriate information, like lack of awareness. You know, the black youths are looking for black peers, like black people, either if they're senior to them or whatever, to talk to them about the mental health. They don't want to hear from the other counterpart. So, and of course, one of the things that they said during COVID that affected them were the closure of sport, which is somebody said a male born in Rwanda, 24 years, said in a basketball community, and where there was a lot of young black youth that was actually affected, in the sense that sport is a vector of change through this certain undeserved community and basketball. It was basically all they had, or the main thing that was driving them to wake up in the morning and go play hard, and yeah, I'll do school also. And then one other thing that they said about resilience that we categorize under resilience was said by a female 18 years and born in Jamaica, but it says that at some point we understand that things will happen, and the best thing to do is you have to create your response to it. There are different responses that we can do things, the good, the bad, and negative. So these are some of the outcomes of the findings in the forced data. And then another person where we categorize as under stress, a male born in Canada, a black person as well, says they are experiencing academic stress. And remember, this has a lot of impact on their mental health. Okay, so this person said, I think because of school and application, I feel like I go through periods of high stress where I'm unable to think, unable to do anything. It's just like a constant up and down thing for me. Of the year and last year in general, I feel very stressed and about tests. And I think because of COVID, I developed a fear of tests and everything. So I'm stressed about the tests and grades. It's very hard to balance. So this person was just telling us how they feel, their mental health during COVID, and how they feel and how they think they are able to balance their academic struggles, and then of course just telling us more about the stress that they feel. And some people, another person that was born in Canada, a male that's 23 years, talked about the financial stress. Okay, and then the food insecurity that they have experienced during that period. Said, yeah, I think it has been stressful, but I feel like the pandemic affected youth, and some lost their job, some lost their means of livelihood, and some had to, some even lost their homes because of not being able to keep up with rent. So this is another problem they are facing. All right. So now I just wanted us to look at the phase 2 data. Okay, the phase 2 data findings that we find out, and in their social demographic, you will see that we had people that are between 16 and 20. We had, those are the second to the lowest, because we have like 51% of all the participants were a total of 479 participated in the interview. And of course, which is the highest. And then the second one with youths between the ages of 21 to 25, which is 261 of them, which represent 28% of the participants. And then, of course, we look at the gender, and we had 51.8% were female, while 46.7% were male. We have those are non-binary, and 4 of them. We have the gender fluid, 2 of them. We have the gender queer, we have 5 of them. We have the trans woman, we have 1 of them. And we have 1 person that decided prefer not to answer. Okay, so now looking at their socioeconomic status. If you look at it, some of them are, most of them are students, and they are full-time students, which constitute about 68.5% of them. And then we have some of them that are part-time, which is 17%, which is 159% of, 159 persons that were currently students at that time. All right. So now we have the education status. You can see it from the data set that I have. And then, of course, the annual income, which is 594 persons are earning less than 40,000, which is considered as low income in Canada. That shows us that 63.7% of the participants of the phase 2 of this research are low income earners. All right. Okay. So now I'll just quickly talk about what we eventually found out in phase 2, which is very interesting. So we categorize it in different forms. So we had so many people, that tends to talk about, that were depressed actually. So, but I'll just quickly mention that depression itself, or major depressive disorder, it's a major mental health concerns, for so many young people, and this includes the Black youth in Canada. And of course, understanding the specific problem the Black youth encounter is critical to effectively meeting their mental health needs. Okay, and then of course, the depression prevalence was very high in our study, because we discovered that Black youth in Canada are more likely to suffer from depression. Okay, so we use the multiple variables, that influence this frequency, which includes systemic racism, socioeconomic challenges, and the cultural stigma associated with mental health. And then, of course, systemic racism and discrimination among with these people. We saw that Black youth frequently experience systemic racism and discrimination in a variety of settings, which includes their school, includes their employment, and interaction with, some of the even law enforcement agencies, such as police. And then also these experiences has caused chronic stress, worry, and even hopelessness, all of which are high risk factors of depression among these people. And of course, if you look at the data that I presented earlier, you will see that we have issues with some of the socioeconomic challenges, like some people unable to pay for their house rent, unable to live well. Some of them are in low income. So we have so most of them they grow up in low income communities, and this can lead to mental health problems for them. Like for example, economic hardship, limited access to quality education, and even healthcare as well. And then of course, unstable living situation, which can raise all likelihood of depression. We have the cultural stigma that was seen within our participant as well. Okay, so if you look at one of what we did, the analysis at the logistic regression, we multivariable analysis. So we saw that Black youth who have been treated unfairly due to their race or skin color were 18 times more likely to experience major depressive disorder than those who believe that they were not treated unfairly because of their race or skin color. Okay, one of the things that stand out in our research on depression is the Black youth would have been treated unfairly due to their language accent, were 4 times more likely to experience major depressive disorder than those who believe they have not been treated unfairly because of their language accent. So you can see that so many things can contribute to depression among the youth. And then also, Black youth who have been treated unfairly due to their culture were 12 times more likely to experience major depressive disorder than those who believe they have not been treated unfairly because of their culture as well. So these are issues. Okay, these are issues, and these are the struggles. These are the silent struggles among the Black youth, which is echoing from our study. All right. So the next thing is resilience. Resilience among these people. So just to quickly talk about resilience. Resilience is like an ability to adapt and use the word prosper in the face of adversity, and is an important aspect of mental health and and the well-being. Okay, so despite the obstacles that Black youth confront, they show extraordinary resilience. Okay, and so many things can actually explain their resiliency. For example, their cultural strength and community support are seen in our project. Okay, so Black youth frequently derive their strength from their cultural history and community. Black youth or Black people have generally been known for their resilience. For example, their strong familiar relationship, the supportive social network, active participation in community group provides a solid foundation of support when they face these challenges. Okay, so these are so many others. For example, of course, some of them even have possibly role models and mentors in the Black community, which plays a significant and important role that helps them to promote their resilience. Okay, so seeing those who have overcome comparable obstacles and achieve success can motivate this Black youth and provide practical advice and emotional support for them. So mentorship programs that are tailored exclusively for Black adolescent people can help them gain their confidence and developing coping skills for them. And these are one of the things that our project has been offering. Okay, so resilience itself, looking at what they said on resilience, you see, the Black youth, we found out that Black youth who are working part-time had 4 times greater odds of experiencing low resilience than those who were not working. And then also Black youth who rated their physical health as fair over the last month were 7 times greater odds of expressing low resilience than Black youth who rated their physical health as good in the last month. So these are the outcomes of our study. Then Black youth who rated their physical health as poor over the last month were 12 times greater odds of experiencing low resilience as well. And the Black youth who ranked their mental health as poor were about 9 times greater odds of experiencing low resilience than those who rated their mental health as good in the last month. All right, so I'll just go to the next slide to talk about limitation, our study limitation. All right, so we have 58% of participants had completed a university degree or were in progress, and all that were part of those things that we've seen. But the thing is, our result may have been impacted. That's our limitation right now. May have been impacted by COVID-19 epidemic because it affected a lot of post-mental health. Okay, and some Black youth may have been exposed to stress that may make them to say this. Okay, and this is not far-fetched as well. All right, and then also if you look at our knowledge mobilization on how we intend to get this across, and this is one of the knowledge mobilization. So we're looking at presentation to present minimum of different conferences about this issue so that it can get to the legislative members of assembly for them to see what the Black youth are going through. And then of course publication, and of course putting into practice, and of course ensuring that it further inform future practitioners, the policy makers and academics, on the findings. I mean, properly inform them about these findings so that this work will be integrated into courses that are taught by their applicants as well. All right, so I'll just quickly talk about implications before I round up the implication of this study. So the implication of this study is, it increases access to support for Black youth, And then, of course, it increases diversity of the mental health workforce and increases access to support for Black youth as well. And then also it addresses racism experienced by Black youth. And I would just like to talk more about this. Yeah, as we all know that, addressing racism against Black youth in Canada involves a collaborative effort from individuals, even from communities, institutions, and even policymakers. And of course, one of the things that we feel that can actually help to reduce this to the barest minimum is educating and raise awareness. Like, for example, implementing anti-racist curricula to teach students about the history and impact of racism, as well as encourage understanding and respect for diversity. Okay, and then of course policy and advocacy as well, which is very important. Then community engagement, just as to strengthen support systems of Black adolescents by investing in programs and even organizations that can offer mentorship and services. These programs can also provide a safe environment, counseling, and chances for personal growth and professional growth for this youth as well. Okay. And then also, addressing this will also give them a mental health support and, ensure Black youth have access to culturally appropriate mental health care. This includes preparing mental health practitioners to recognize and address the unique needs and experience of Black youth. For example, if you see some of the results that I spoke about, we saw that some of the youth were like, they don't understand me, right? So we need to ensure that the mental health practitioner are able to recognize and address the unique needs and experiences of this Black youth in Canada. Then also, we need to encourage diverse representation of Black individuals in different areas such as media, politics, education, business, leadership, and so many other things. Okay, and then of course, accountability and reporting is also very important because these establish and precise reporting methods for incidences of racism and prejudice as well. For example, like I said, that race-based data are not readily available, in Canada, right? So these will be very, very, appropriate. Getting this kind of data will be able to will help us expand and be able to tackle the issues and barriers and struggles of the Black youth and their community. All right, so I am now at the questions and comments section, and the floor is open. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question from Luke. You said one of the limitations of the study was underrepresentation of NEET, not unemployment or education youth. Your recruitment methods used social media and community outreach programs. All the interviews were conducted over Zoom. All survey participation was conducted and collected online. Taking part in the study would have required access to the internet, computers, smartphones, and literacy in their use. Finding out about the study would, to some extent, require the existing social media use. So would you say that these quite heavy dependence upon technology might have contributed to the underrepresentation of NEET youth in the study? Also, what was the ratios of the responses by social media as opposed to community outreach? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the beautiful question. That's a good question there. So yes, so social media, well, we found out that a larger percentage of Black youth in Canada are somehow connected. Somehow they have phones, somehow they have computers, especially for those ones that are already in school. And we don't really see it as a barrier for them to participate because they can actually attend the interviews for phase 1 via the through their phone. They can connect to Zoom through their phone. Some of them actually participated through their phone. And then also we designed a phase 2, which is the questionnaire, the survey. We designed it to appear user friendly. For example, they are able to use the mobile version, so they can actually attempt or participate in the interview using their phone. So what we did was we didn't see uh, any issues with any of those youths, no, like segregating them, or they're unable to participate in the survey using because they don't have because they are low income and they are not able to access all these technologies, appropriate technology. So I think it was not a major problem for us. We did a stratification of the total number of sample size provinces, and we were able to achieve that. So we actually did a total sampling of these people within each province. So I don't see as maybe social media as a limitation, or that it's in any way affected some of them, or it's sidelined some of the youth from participating in this research. I hope I answered the questions correctly.
Thank you. I have another question from Existential Conundrum. They say, Dr. Oluwasina, how familiar are you with the intersectionality of Blackness and autism? I'm looking for BIPOC voices and studies specific to African Black autistic people for my Autistic Resource Center here in the Second Life. Could you help me here or through an email conversation? I'm finding it especially difficult to find blogs with consistent content to promote and studies that are specific of people of color. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. Yeah, I can we can connect via email, and I can send you maybe some of the resources. I've worked with autistic youth before, but these are not specific to Black people. The general general people, like, which it includes the work that I did on autistic youth includes the Black, the white, the Asian, and so many people. It's just the general population. So we can connect, and I can send you some of maybe things that has to do with intersectionality when it comes to autistic youth as well. Any other question?
Yes, Polaris asks, how has the socioeconomic struggles impacted the study? Did the youth's parents cooperated with the study?
Oh yes, thank you so much, Polaris, for that good question. Yes, yeah, they coordinated because you know that from the age of 18, they are not regarded as minor anymore, and they are responsible for any of their actions that they do while in Canada, based on the policy that has to do with age requirement, right? So we didn't go through any of the youth because these we're looking at youths that are 18 and above, and they are able to speak for themselves, and there were no connections with their parents in any ways, or probably they might have maybe but some of them asked for their parent for permission, but under law, we're not required to go through their parents, and I think we got a good response from them, and I don't think that was a challenge for us during the project. Thank you, Max.
Okay, so Gentle says, thank you for your interesting presentation. You did an excellent job for your first time in Second Life. So, question. You were reporting on Black youth in Canada. Do you have any way to compare your conclusions with the situations for Black youth elsewhere in the world? Have you researched elsewhere? A lot of what you said resonated with my observation about my Black students in the central US. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that good question. Yeah, so our work is comparable to an extent to countries in North America as well, and which is in US inclusive as well, right? So because of the because of Canada, and then there's a lot of similar activities, similar relationship between what you can find around here in the North America as well. So our study is comparable to what has been found in US as well. And then from research and literature, we saw that this work is consistent in what other people in other jurisdictions, for example, Western world, like US and some other countries, Australia, UK, and all that. So we're able to see a lot of comparison, like what we got, and it's the same thing that other people were able to get from. Similar to what other people were able to get in other jurisdiction where they conducted the study as well. So there are basically similarities between what we did and what other people have seen, as we've seen in the literature. Any other question? Okay, so these are references, and thank you so much for listening to me today. And then also I would like to thank specifically the principal investigator for this project for allowing me to speak on behalf of the project, and then also for allowing me to work on this project. Her name is Professor Bukola Salami. Professor Bukola Salami is a full professor and a candidate tier 1 professor at Cummings School of Medicine in the University of Calgary. And then also to our founders, CIHR, Canadian Institute of Health Research, thank you for the funds, making the funds available, for making this project a reality. And also to all the co-PIs that are working with Professor Salami, thank you so much for making all this work together.